Your important instructions, press.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
You are about to be entertained by the eighth, the young man who has become a legend in his own time.
I'm not going to
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's the Ron Kelly Show. So don't get it twisted.
You can tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Oh, that's right. Y'all know what time it is. It's Thursday night, and I am the man. It's the Ron Kelly Show. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. And yes, indeed, I am the man. Good to have you guys in. Appreciate you all for showing up and obliging me on my radio program. It's Thursday. It's June 11th already, and you are watching the Ron Kelly Show. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. And the YouTube channel is up and running finally. So if you can't get me on Facebook, you can get me on YouTube. Okay, good evening, everybody. It's back in better than ever. You know what time it is. It's the Ron Kelly Show. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. Yeah, I know I said that already. And boy, oh boy, what a news cycle this is. So the protests are continuing after the killing of George Floyd. Shout out to Sharon on the Chambers, my sister. Love you, my sister. So the protests continue weeks after the killing of George Floyd. But we are just finding out that there was a George Floyd before we ever heard the name of George Floyd. Now, the Oklahoma Police Department has just released body cam video of Derek Scott, 42 years old, who was arrested by Oklahoma police. Now, the police responded to a 911 call of a man with a gun. This was last year. When the police arrived, Derek Scott ran from the police. So they caught up with him, and he did resist arrest. While he was being subdued, he told the police that he couldn't breathe. This is Derek Scott. This is from last year, Oklahoma Police Department. So once Derek Scott was handcuffed, they did find a gun in his pocket now. They did find a gun. I'm not absolving anybody of any wrongdoing, but they did find a gun in his pocket. Now, when they caught him and he resisted, and while he was being subdued, he told them that he couldn't breathe. And one of the police officers said, I don't care. So once Derek Scott was handcuffed, they did find a gun in his pocket. He later died at the hospital. So this is, these things are happening all over the United States of America. And it's a real tragedy. So we are live on Blog Talk Radio as well as Facebook Live and the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. So I'm asking all of my listeners to go, just hit me up, go to YouTube, The Ron Kelly Show, and subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything, but I just need you guys, all my listeners, wherever you are in the United States of America, to subscribe to The Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. And I'm up and running right now. I need to do some work on this, but I am right now on YouTube. The YouTube channel is up and pumping, finally. Takes a lot of work to run this show. Then I got to eat and work and everything else. I need some help. Okay. So, and I definitely believe this. Now, Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee, he goes on the record now. And see, I've always believed this too. I just never said anything. But Joe Biden has gone on the record and says that he thinks that Trump will have to be forcibly removed from the White House if he loses. And I definitely believe that. I believe that Trump is not going to go easily because Trump is so unhinged Trump is so unhinged that, you know, he's capable of anything. I mean, he's just totally unhinged. So he goes to Dallas today to talk about law enforcement and snubs the Dallas police chief, the Harris County sheriff, and the Harris County DA, who are all black folks. And now the DA and the sheriff were elected as Democrats. So could that be it? No. The Dallas police chief is appointed, so nobody knows what political stripe she comes from. Personally, I don't think it had anything to do with party politics. Trump is a racist. I mean, you know I have tried not to say that. I have tried not to say that Trump is a racist, but Trump is a racist. I mean, you know, it's evident. And again, I've tried to be nice, and you know, but like I said in my post last week, no more Mr. Nice Guy. So he could care less about the plight of black folks. He could care less. And he looks at us like a cancer that needs to be cut out. Now he goes to this so-called meeting about law enforcement, and all he does is talk about the cops, how great the cops are, and you only got a couple of bad apples, and most of them. I mean, there's more than a couple of bad apples in the police departments across the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. There's more than just a couple of bad apples, and I don't know any bad. In the words of Chris Rock, I don't know any bad apples that kill people. So. And to shout out to Bunny McKnight, my brother, love you, my brother. So at the conference, he talked more about praising the police than he did about police reform. And now, to add insult to injury, Trump is going back on the stump. Coronavirus be damned. He's going back on the stump. And his first rally on Juneteenth. Now, this is no coincidence, people. This is no coincidence. Trump's first rally is going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Juneteenth. Tulsa, Oklahoma was the site of what they called back in 1865. It was Black Wall Street. Now, on June 19th, 1865, the Union soldiers landed down in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and the slaves were free. Now, this was 2 years after President Lincoln freed the slaves, which took place on January 1st, 1863. So it wasn't until 2+ years later that the slaves in Texas found out that they were free. Now, the rumor is that the white slave owners didn't want the slaves to know that they were free so they can keep the free labor. So, so once the slaves were freed, they, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was a place called Black Wall Street. Now, the Tulsa Race Massacre, or the Greenwood Massacre, or the Black Wall Street Massacre, as it's called, took place in 1921. Now, May 30th and June 1st of 1921, mobs of white residents attacked black people and businesses of the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Trump is having his very first rally on the same day, Juneteenth, when black folks, June 19th, 1865, when black folks found out they were free. That's why Juneteenth is so significant and so important in the black community. It was on that day that black folks in Texas found out that they were free, 2 years after Lincoln actually freed the slaves. So the attack was carried out on the ground and from private aircraft, destroyed 35 square blocks of the district. At the time, was the wealthiest black community in the United States. More than 800 people were admitted to hospitals, and as many as 6,000 black residents were locked up in large facilities for many days. Now, the Oklahoma Bureau of Vital Statistics said 36 people died, but we all know that it was 150 to more than 300 people, and probably a whole lot more who died. So Trump, the racist, is kicking off his 2020 campaign in the same town where the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street, were the wealthiest black people at the time in the United States, had picked themselves up, and those 35 square blocks were all black businesses, well-to-do black people who, at that time, you see, because back those days, black folks shared commerce with each other. Not like today. You know, today is a totally different story. But at that time, black folks did practice commerce with each other, and they were massacred by a mob of racist, filthy white racist folks who killed all the people. Now, the white rioters rampaged through the black neighborhood that night and the next morning, looting store, killing men, and burning and looting stores and homes. And only around noon the next day, shout out to Gail Carnegie, love you, my sister. And only the next day did the Oklahoma National Guard troops manage to get control of the situation by declaring martial law. Now, about 10,000 black people were left homeless, and property damage amounted to more than $1.5 million in real estate, and then $750,000 in per personal property, which in today's dollars would be about $32 million. So Trump, the racist, decides he wants to have his first rally in the same town that the Black Wall Street massacre of 1921 took place. Now, if that's not, you know, Trump is a racist. And I know I have tried not to say that in the past, trying to be politically correct, but no, Trump is a racist. And, you know, he went to this meeting today. It was supposed to be about law enforcement reform. And, you know, Trump, he loves the police, and he practically gave the police a pass. You know, it's just unbelievable. So we got to get this joker out of here. So all of y'all out there, and I'm saying everybody, I don't care if you listen to me, you don't listen to me, we all need to vote to get Trump out. Now, I'm not exactly sold on Biden either. You know, so I guess we just have to, it's going to have to be the lesser of the two evils. But I'm not sold with Biden either. But we have to get Trump out, because Trump, another 4 years of Trump is going to be hell. We're going to regress 100 years. So it'll be, you know, 1920 instead of 2020 if we allow Trump to live in the White House another 4 years. So those of you who are watching the program, the people who listen to me, who like me on Facebook, who follow me on Twitter or whatever, follow me on Facebook, it's time for us to vote to get Trump's ass out of the White House. He has to get out because he don't give a damn about black people or anybody else for that matter. 15 minutes past the hour. So yeah, so we got a lot going on. I mean, I got so much stuff. Breonna Taylor. Oh man, you just will not believe. I'm going to come back after the break, and I'm going to get into more. Breonna Taylor I'm going to talk about George Floyd and the worldwide response to George Floyd, and why George Floyd. Why George Floyd? We had Philando Castile. We had Trayvon Martin. The little 12-year-old kid, I can't think of his name right now. I'll get to it. Some Eleanor Bumpers I've talked about back in 1984, like 44 years ago. Well, 36 years ago, I'm sorry. 36 years ago, Eleanor Bumpers, a woman who wasn't quite have all her senses together, she was killed. So I'll get into all of that. We'll talk about all of that, police reform, you name it, I got you. So I'll take a quick break and I'll come right back with more of this program. It is the Ron Kelly Show, everybody, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, the Ron Kelly Show. .com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Hello.
It's the Ron Kelly Show. The news you
Is the
want.
perception still that a black man with a gun is a criminal?
With the topics you need.
Marching might have been good for back in the day, but what kind of effectiveness is marching have on society today?
Ron Kelly.
Black males 18 to 24 years old have the highest homicide offending rate.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
So don't get it twisted.
We'll be back with more of the Ron Kelly Show after this.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is working to help keep you and your community safe from the threat of novel or new coronavirus. Take the following everyday steps to help avoid the spread of all respiratory viruses. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue. Throw the tissue away and then wash your hands. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects or surfaces, such as remote controls and doorknobs. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. And stay home if you are sick. Call your healthcare provider if you develop fever, cough, or difficulty breathing. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
The Ron Kelly Show. And on the web, theronkellyshow.com.
All righty then. We are back. It's the Ron Kelly Show, everybody, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. Shout out to Regina Wilson, who is also enjoying the Ron Kelly Show, as many of you do. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. And right now we are streaming live on YouTube, the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. So I asked that everybody who watches the Ron Kelly Show, who's a fan of the Ron Kelly Show, to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. Okay, so man, lots going on. We, the rallies are still going on, which, it's something we need to do. We need to continue to keep these rallies going because we're at a crossroads right here. I mean, the death of George Floyd, and while nobody wanted him to die, but the death of George Floyd has galvanized the United States of America. And see, the problem, right? The problem with the rallies and the protests is there are a overwhelming amount of white people, who are there protesting alongside black folks, a lot of white folks. You see, and I've always kind of said that, not all white people are racist, just like not all black men are deadbeat dads. I mean, we tend to look at white people like they're all enemy. No, they're not all enemy. White folks are out there, lots of them. And you're having these rallies in little small towns like Glen Ridge, New Jersey, is right down the street from me. Like there might be 3 black people that live there, but they had a rally. Franklinville had a rally. Franklinville, New Jersey is an overwhelmingly white town. And 2 people, one was I think he worked for FedEx, and the other person was a corrections officer in New Jersey State Prison System. And these 2 guys, as the paraders were going past, as the protesters were going past, they recreated the George Floyd killing, where one man laid on the ground and the other guy pretended to kneel on his neck. I mean, so there's still a lot of white folks out there who there's always going to be a level of racism, and that's all right. If there's going to be white people that don't like you, I mean, there really ain't much we can do about that. But when racism, permeates the justice system and police officers, racist police officers, and let's just cut to the chase here. These police officers are racist. They are racist. The ones that you see beating up on people, these are racist police officers. As a matter of fact, and police officers all across the country are getting locked up, because of the death of George Floyd and the firestorm that George Floyd has created. There's a lot of white people, like white cops, who are being locked up, who are being charged. The cop who pushed down the girl, I should apologize for not having information in front of me, in New York City, where he pushed her and she slid about 4 feet. He's got arrested. A police officer in Los Angeles who, just started beating on a guy for no apparent reason, he's got locked up. So there's a firestorm because of the death of George Floyd, there's a firestorm of action being taken place against racist police officers. See, because you don't need to be trained. They talk about retraining and stuff like that. And you can look back at some of my other shows, Ron Kelly Show, blogtalk.com/Ron Kelly Show. My archive is located there. And, I've always said that, these police officers, they talk about retraining, and you can't retrain. You don't have to train somebody how to show another person respect. That's something that should be in you already. That's something you should have learned from childhood. Now, these So it's not that these are just rough and tumble guys. They just like to beat up people. No, these guys are racist. And a lot of these police officers are just totally unhinged. You see what happened in Buffalo where they pushed the old man down, 75-year-old man, and he cracked his head on the sidewalk. And psychopath Trump had the nerve to say that the man was acting. Oh, yeah, so oh, really? So, you know, and nothing is important enough for me to fall down on the sidewalk and crack my head on the sidewalk and have blood running out of my head. I think there's a better way to do things. And Trump, and this is a white man. See, Trump, he passes it around. And he said, he made a tweet that the man may have been a Activa operative, and he fell harder than he should have. Now, Trump, you're only like a click or two younger than this man, because you're in your 70s too, and just the nerve. I mean, just, oh man, it's just unbelievable. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. There's no two ways about it. Trump has got to go because he has no respect for nobody. Now, you see what happened last week with the peaceful protesters, peaceful American protesters who had Black Hawk helicopters maybe 50 feet over their heads. You know, the Black Hawk helicopters, makes a lot of turbulence. And you got Army helicopters flying over peaceful American protesters. And then when he wanted to do his I'm surprised the Bible didn't burst into flames. When he picked up the Bible, but he went across after they used pepper spray and tear gas to clear the way in Lafayette Park for President Trump for him to walk over to the church. Didn't tell the pastors, hey, I'm coming over. Didn't pray for anybody. Just stood there with the Bible and said, looked, it's so stupid and ridiculous. He just, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we have a president of the United States who acts like an a-hole. It's embarrassing. Okay, so Breonna Taylor, the report, just, oh my God, just unbelievable. The report, 3 months after Breonna Taylor was killed, shot 8 times, 8 bullets. And she was Breonna Taylor, y'all know she was the police, the incompetent idiots masquerading as police officers, the Louisville Metro Police, had a no-knock warrant. Now I'm like, who is the judge who gave them this warrant? Now, the police were looking for somebody who was already in custody, who lived 10 miles away from where Breonna Taylor lived. So the police get there, they're in regular gear. They say they announced themselves. The neighbors say, no, they didn't. So anyway, we get the report today, and it's blank. It's almost blank. Now, the 4-page report, only 4 pages, it lists the time, the date, the case number, the incident location, and the victim's name, and as well as the fact that she's a 26-year-old female. But now it's redacted. They blacked it out. The street number, apartment number, date of birth, all of that, which we already know. So they list on this report that there were no injuries. 8 bullet wounds is not an injury. She was shot 8 times, and they put her injuries as none, even though she died on the hallway floor in a pool of blood. Now, they list the charges as death investigation, Louisville Metro Police Department involved, but checks no under the box that says forced entry. So they lie. I mean, just crazy. Now they say on the report where it says forced entry, they say no, but they used the battering ram to get into her house. Now under the offenders portion, it does list the 4 cops that were accused. They shot her: Sergeant John Mattingly, 47 years old; Miles Cosgrove, 42; and Brett Hankinson, 44. So, now the most important part of the report should be the narrative of events that tell you what happened. It has 2 words: PIU investigation. The rest of the report has no information filled in at all. This is, you see, these cops, and not all of them. I know some cops who are cool at the moment, but these cops are totally unhinged, off the chain, breaking the law. And then you see them riding around in squad cars and they're on the phone, but they're going to pull you over and give you a $300 ticket for you being on the phone. But they're on the phone on a handheld device, chit-chatting with whoever while they're driving past. So, there is a big need for police reform right now. Because what's going on in this country is unbelievable. Cops are getting away with murder. Now, there was a black cop now. I'll pull it up during the break. There was a black officer. I mean, black cops too. They're not, black cops are not, I'm not giving them absolution. They're off the chain too. And there's a lot of them who are off the meter and doing things they shouldn't be doing. And you see now, and now the suicide rate amongst cops, now there were like over 200 cops who committed suicide last year. Some were retired and some were still working. Now, being a cop is a tough job, because you see the worst of society, and it's a tough job. And some of these officers do commit suicide. And see the reason, and for that reason, cops should be, they should have some kind of mental, they should have mental health counseling. You see, because the cops, now what they do, like a lot of the cops, they have mental issues and they won't say anything. They because it's kind of like punkish for you to, as a cop, you're supposed to be the Iron Man and you're not supposed to, tell anybody that you got issues, so a lot of the cops have these mental issues and they don't tell anybody. So what they do is they take it out on people, mostly black people. Shout out to Albert Vega, my brother. Wednesday night, don't forget, Wednesday night, 8 to 10, dymusicradio.com. Albert Vega, spinning the hits for you on dymusicradio.com. Okay, yeah, so a lot of these cops are unhinged. A lot of them have mental issues. And they take out their aggressions on suspects. It's ridiculous. So shout out Chambers says black cops in Atlanta that attacked the two college too. Yeah, there's two black cops in Atlanta. I mean, the black cops, they're off the meter too, But the thing about black cops, you don't really hear about black cops doing stuff because black cops, how can you say a black cop is racist against a black suspect? You can't say that, And there was one cop, I'll pull it up. I should have gotten it earlier, but I was busy doing things. And black cops are off the meter too, So there is a need for police reform because these incidents are getting crazy. Now we do have a shot here. We do have a shot because the George Floyd killing has ignited, not just in the United States of America, but all around the world, in England, France, Germany, even in Africa, some people, there are protests all around the world regarding the killing of George Floyd. And so, you look at the George Floyd situation, it's like, wow, George Floyd had a big, it was all about George Floyd and all the people who died before George Floyd. You had a couple of days of protests and that was it, So people are asking because somebody, matter of fact, I got an email and from a white person and they were like, well, what's with the George Floyd? Why is all the focus on George Floyd? So George Floyd was the straw that broke the camel's back, ladies and gentlemen. The straw that broke the camel's back was George Floyd. Now, George Floyd, each one of these killings led up to where we got to the point where we just, that was it. You know what I'm saying? So Philando Castile and all the other people, Michael Brown and all the other folks who died at the hands of police did not die in vain. And I explained to this individual that George Floyd was just the tipping point. And everything has a tipping point. You get tired of your job, I gotta leave, you quit. The marriage is, you give up, so that's it, I gotta, so everything has a point of no return. And the George Floyd killing was the tipping point for all that's going on right now. So we do have a shot. We got to keep our foot on the gas. We have to keep protesting, keep doing what we need to do in order to make this come to fruition. And we definitely got to get rid of Trump because Trump is just unbelievably stupid. And we definitely have to get him out of office. Okay. Yeah. So man, the economy is crashing. The coronavirus is still going on, and Trump is having his coronavirus be damned. He's going to have his rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like I said earlier, where the site of the mass murder of well-to-do Black folks in Greenwood was the section of town in 1921, where about 35 blocks or so of Black folks were sharing commerce with each other. And see, that's something that, we need another Black Wall Street, everybody. We need another Black Wall Street. We need we need to be sharing commerce with each other. But now fast forward 99 years later, we don't commerce with each other. You see Chinatown, you see India Town, and you see all kinds of places, Islam Town, where people of a certain race take over the neighborhood, but not with crime or death. They take over by, opening businesses. And they, in some of these neighborhoods, they don't even have to leave the neighborhood because everything they need is right there. We need a Black Wall Street. I'm going to take one more quick break. I need some water. And I'll come back and I'll talk more about Black Wall Street and the need for us to have another Black Wall Street. Take a quick break. Come right back with more. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkelly.show.com.
We'll be back with more of the Ron Kelly Show after this.
Oh no, I'm in charge of our 10-year class reunion and don't know where to begin.
Don't let this happen to you. For your next event, wedding, anniversary, class reunion, or just need to promote your business, Burkett Promotions has you covered.
BurkettPromotions.com.
Over 200 custom-made products USA made, along with personalized imprints and logos. We can fit your budget.
BurkettPromotions.com.
Need your event to stand out with that personalized touch? Pens, pencils, t-shirts? Go to BurkettPromotions.com.
BurkettPromotions.com.
Mention the Ron Kelly Show and receive an additional 10% off an already great price.
Thanks to Burkett Promotions, my event was a success.
BurkettPromotions.com. BIRKETT Promotions.com.
BurkettPromotions.com.
A business you can trust. A member of the Better Business Bureau, New Jersey. A+ rating.
Alrighty, then we're back. It's more of the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkellyshow.com. Brought to you by BurkettPromotions.com. Go to BurkettPromotions.com for all of your promotional needs. Okay, so Trump is having his rally where the mass murder of Black folk, the Black Wall Street, took place. 35 blocks of a section of town where it wasn't the ghetto. No, it wasn't the ghetto. It wasn't all crazy. It wasn't the ghetto. It was a 35 block section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Trump is about to have his first rally. And it's no coincidence that he's having his rally in the same town where on June 19th, the same day, that the black folks found out, black folks in Texas found out that they were free. Now, 2 years after, 2 years after President Lincoln declared the slaves free, now they find out that they're free. 2 years later, you see, with the white folks, the heinous white slave owners at that time didn't want the black folks to know that they were free. They wanted to keep that free labor. So black folks toiled on the plantations for an extra 2 years, not even knowing that they were free, because there's a heinous, filthy slave owners wanted to keep that free labor. So that's what happened with Greenwood, where the jealous white folks, racists, went there and destroyed the neighborhood, Greenwood. Look up, 1921 it took place on the 31st of May and the 1st of June. 99 years ago, this took place. The single worst incident of racial violence in the history of the United States of America. Just unbelievable. So yeah, so now, I mean, Trump is racist. We got to get him out of office. There's no ifs and buts about it. He's got to go. Shout out to Lamont Gates who's watching the program. And shout out to the folks on the YouTube channel who are partaking of the Ron Kelly show. So we got a lot going on right now. You know, there's a whole lot going on with the George Floyd murder. He's finally George Floyd been put to rest. And Reverend Al, now you say what you want to say about Reverend Al, but Reverend Al dropped it down. I know a lot of y'all don't like Reverend Al. I get, you know, anytime I say something about Reverend Al, I get a message, I get an email, I get something. You know, rkellytalk@AOL.com. I get a message about Reverend Al. Reverend Al dropped it now. Don't, you know, Reverend Al did a very good job at the funeral for George Floyd. Did a very good job. So it's about 20 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock, everybody. You're listening to, watching, perusing, checking out me. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on blogtalkradio.com. Oh, the RonKellyShow.com. You know, some people you just need to leave alone. You know, I have to learn that. You know, some people you just have to leave alone. You know, some people are just not going to like you no matter what you do. It's not that I be going around, and I don't suggest anybody else does that either, go around trying to get somebody to like you. But some people are just not going to like you no matter what, for whatever reason. They're just not going to like you. So sometimes some people you just have to stay away from. Just hello and goodbye, and that's it. No social media interaction, no nothing. You know, so I got to get with that. But shout out to Lamont Gates. Real Spiritual Talk is the name of his program. I don't know if Lamont mentions me, but that's okay. I'm going to mention him anyway. Real Social Talk. I mean, real Spiritual Talk. The stories of those who have come back from the dead. Not completely dead, but you know, maybe on the borderline. So check Lamont Gates out. Look him up on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher. He's over there somewhere. He puts his stuff on Facebook. Anyway, so we got a lot going on. You know, we have a golden opportunity right now to get this thing together with these police, these off the chain, you know, pent up, mentally afflicted police officers. Not all of them, but some of them. You know, some of them are basket cases. You see, you know, now New York, for example, Governor Cuomo did sign a law that now you can release. Let me pull it. Yeah, you can now. Police officers' records are not. The police officers' records are not hidden like they used to be. See, the cops have a lot of protections. You know, the cops have a lot of protections. And they have a lot of protections, and you know, they, for example, like you know, police officers don't have to They don't have to, if they kill somebody, they got time to get their story together. They don't have to make a statement right after they kill somebody. You know, they go on paid leave. See, a lot of that stuff needs to be eliminated. You can't, you know, if I kill somebody, I'm sure not going on paid leave. Now I understand that. I understand that that police officers have a hard time out there. I mean, we get that. You know, we get that. That's a given. I mean, we understand that. You know, but now what happened today? Yesterday, Governor Cuomo. Well, here it is. There's a package of bills was passed, comprehensive police reform. Now, police records are not secret anymore. You see, because the whole idea is that when cops commit crimes, in lots of cases, even if they're fired, they go to another job and they're hired by somebody else. You know, that blue wall is still, the blue wall is still there. So cops are able to go to different jobs. Now I believe the Congress is trying to pass a law that says that, to have a national database of cops who commit wrongdoing. There's going to be a national database. So cops, before they get hired to another department, they are going to have to be looked up by the hiring department to see what happened. Now, speaking of cops, you all know Cops has been on for 30-something years, right? Cops, the TV show, has been canceled. Just like that. Cops has been canceled. And the other show, which was the #1 show on A&E, Live PD, has also been canceled. So those cop shows about cops going around arresting people, the show Cops has been on forever. And the new TV show, Live PD, where they show police officers all across the country in real time chasing down folks, those two shows were canceled. So the George Floyd death has sparked a national movement toward some reforms, some police reforms. The NASCAR is removing. NASCAR is going to take Confederate flags off the cars. There's a movement going on to rename military bases, which of course Trump, the racist in chief, has said, no, I don't want that. I don't want to rename. He says that those are part of our proud American heritage. Okay, so those generals who owned slaves and who killed black folks are part of a proud American heritage? Really, Mr. President? He's got to go. So yeah, so there are some things going on there. Now as far as defunding the police, because they talk about that, defunding police, and our friend Joe Biden doesn't agree with funding the police. We have to find out why. But about defunding the police, he doesn't agree. Now, what does that mean? Defunding the police. Now, I had a discussion with somebody on some social media platform about Minnesota, about Minneapolis, and that they're going to disband the police department. Now, they're not going to disband the police department, but they're going to make things different. See, because let's say, for example, police are not, they know one thing, safety, they know protect themselves, they know my life's in danger, I'm going to shoot you. So, what the idea is, a part of it is like when you get a call, when someone calls 911, the police are not always the best person to respond unless it's a matter of life and death. Now, if there's someone like Eleanor Bumper's case, for example, Eleanor Bumper's, look her up, 1984 New York City projects, who had a mental problem. And she was killed because the police were not equipped to handle it. So part of the reform package is for the police, for mental health experts to accompany police, to give them advice on what to do when you approach someone who has mental issues. See, because what happens more times than not, that the person with the mental issues gets killed by the police, because the police, in many cases, domestic violence cases, where a lot of police die in those type of situations, but domestic violence, mental health, teenage issues, there's a lot of calls that come into 911 that the police are not equipped to handle. So part of the reform package would be for the police, for the police to be accompanied, or to have maybe, let's say it's a mental health issue, because some people call the police when they got, some people have crazy people who live in their houses. I don't mean to use the word crazy, but there are X amount of folks who have people with mental issues living with them. Maybe a mother has a son who has mental issues, or a husband has a wife who has mental issues. So they call the police when the person goes off the meter, and the police are not always equipped to handle these type of things. So part of the reform package is to not have police respond to some of these issues, to respond to some of these calls where the person who has mental health issue and may need some other type of help winds up dead. So that's part of the package. Also, for the police, many of the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, and the PBA, Police Benevolent Association, the two largest police unions in the United States, a lot of them have these things built into their contracts where you can't lock them up, you can't fire them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was listening to the police chief in Baltimore who says that, that's something he was saying, that he can't even fire a cop. And this is the chief, the commissioner of police can't fire a cop because of the union contract. You see, these things need to be changed. The police are just as, the police are people too. They're not above the law. See, this is why these things keep happening, because the police know that they're not going to be, they may not be convicted. So let me go to the phone here. Ron Kelly Show. Hello, Ron Kelly Show.
Yes, I was listening to it on the computer, then I call in to just quickly throw in a point.
Okay, well, before you make your point, sir, what's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Warren, calling from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, New Orleans. I got to get down there for whenever they coronavirus. Get down there for the.
That may be. You have to come around the time next year, I guess.
Yeah. I'll look for you, brother. You're calling from New Orleans, they call it down there, right? No.
From New Orleans, yeah.
Okay, what's your point, my brother?
Well, I also have a blog talk radio program here called New Orleans Wake Up.
New Orleans Wake Up.
But,
okay.
New Orleans Wake Up. What I wanted to add was we must also be aware of the line of argument, the talking points that elements who describe themselves as conservative use. I like to call in to the conservative-oriented programs on Blog Talk Radio because I'm able to hear how they discuss these issues. So, for example, when the term systemic and structural racism is brought up, they reject that. When you attempt to go into examples, they shut you down. And then what they do is they jump to Chicago, the shootings in Chicago. Then they jump to black women getting abortions.
Yeah, I heard that. I just laughed. Yeah, I heard that. I just had to laugh because they don't give a damn about black women having. Yes, you're right. Because I listen to Rush Limbaugh and some of the other ones. You got to know what the enemy is thinking. So I do listen to some of them. And yeah, now they're bringing up black abortion. Now, before George Floyd got killed, they didn't give a damn about. They were happy that black women would get abortion. Now they want to talk about it.
And let me give you another example. Now, because of the riots, they highlight the black businesses that were destroyed. However, when you had the small business loan program and the stimulus, black businesses didn't get the loans. You didn't hear them express concern then.
No. See, because it's all excuses, my brother. It's all excuses. They always bring up like Chicago. A lot of people got killed in Chicago. Yeah. So the theme is that since we don't protest and march when we kill
Right.
each other, but we do it only when the police or when a white person does it. That's the narrative that
Right.
white folks, conservative white folks,
Right.
are
Right.
pushing across.
Yeah, they try to show they try to show a great contradiction in black people's concern for black lives.
Right, right.
But they reject the concept of systemic and structural racism for the simple reason. If you say there's systemic and structural racism, then let's go into the books, not so much the financial books, but let's go into the episodes in case. Well, they don't want to do that because when you see that, they mean you got to change it, and that's what they don't want to actually do.
Yeah, and you see, and white folks actually are the engine that's driving this thing right now because because the concern now amongst conservatives and right wingers is that now they're seeing white folks out there protesting. So I think that's making the I'm not saying it's the whole kid and caboodle, but I think that because white folks are out there, lots of white folks, not just a handful, but thousands and thousands of white folks are out there protesting too. So I think that's what is making the difference with the results that we're getting now from the protests.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to throw those things in and continue to listen to your show. Then you come on every day.
No, once a week, brother. I mean, that's that. Hopefully, one day when I put ink on a contract, then I can do the show every day and you know, and live the dream, my brother. Live the dream. But until then, you know, you got to be on the radio to say you on the radio. So this is it. What's the name of your show?
New Orleans, Wake Up. My iconic image is a picture of Louis Armstrong blowing his trumpet.
Okay, New Orleans. Say it again, my brother. Let me write that down. New Orleans, Wake Up.
New Orleans, comma, Wake Up. 3 exclamation points after that.
Yeah, 3 of them, huh? You gonna make sure, right?
Yeah.
3. And your name is?
Yeah.
And what's your name, brother?
Brother Warren. That's my host name, Brother Warren.
Brother Warren. All right, I'm gonna check you out, my brother. I'm gonna look you up on Blog Talk.
I have a lot of archive shows on there. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. All right. Thank you for calling in, my brother. Appreciate you, brother Warren.
Okay, I'll just continue to listen on the computer.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. All righty. All right. That was Brother Warren. Brother Warren from Nolens, New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm like 504. What part of the country is that? 504. Okay. Brother Warren from New Orleans. And he's right. He's right, because racism in America is systemic. I mean, you know, this has been going on for hundreds of years, you know, in the courts and law enforcement and you know, in the jails, all over the place. This racism, you know, and you got these people, like you had the situation, lady named Amy Cooper in New York, who called the police on this brother and said, this black man, like the black man is, you know, is the boogeyman. So she calls, the black man was bird watching. I didn't know black people bird watched, but I shouldn't have said that. But so she sees the man. So the man comes out and says, "Hey, lady, you need to put your dog on a leash." Because when I see people with their dogs off the leash, I'll say something too, you know, and I carry a weapon. So, you know, anyway, you know, you might be crying over Fido if he's, you know, like a Rottweiler or something. But anyway, so he asked the lady to put her dog on a leash. And this stuff is happening all over America, you know, where white folks are confronting black folks who are minding their own business. One person was having a barbecue. The lady came over and said they can't have a barbecue. Now they have barbecue. Now they have grills in the park for folks to use. But the lady comes over and says, hey, you can't use this, you know, not supposed to have barbecue, and calls the police. Now, this lady, Amy Cooper from New York, who lost her job and lost her dog too, calls the police on this brother who asked her to put her dog on a leash. Just asked her to put her dog on a leash. She couldn't do it. So she calls cops. Now, and you know, there's a black man, you know, he's scaring me. Oh my goodness. Go back to Africa. I've never even been to Africa, you know, but this is what's going on right now. I see, and the Trump is Trump. Donald J. Trump is fueling racism in America because things have gotten progressively worse in the 3.5 years that Donald Trump has been president of the United States. Shout out to Emily Higgins. Hey, my sister. The racism in America has gotten progressively worse since Donald Trump became president of the United States. So let's make that abundantly clear. And I believe, and for a long time, I wouldn't say he was a racist, but Donald Trump is a racist. He is. You know, I have to admit that because I wouldn't say it for a long time, but he is. Because you don't want to call a president a racist, but this president is a racist. You know, 2 minutes left to the program. So, so a lot going on here. You know, I'm going to try to attend the rally. I think there's a rally Saturday in Paterson, New Jersey. I will try to attend it. For the folks who are listening across the country that don't know where Paterson is, I'm going to try to make it to that event. Shout out to Gail Carnegie, who says white people have a sense of entitlement. Yeah, you know what? Real quick, I got about 2 minutes left to the program. See, because the United States of America, when the Constitution was written, it wasn't written for black folks. Black folks were slaves when the United States of America was formed. When the Constitution was written for life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, all that wasn't written for black folks. That was written for white folks because black folks were slaves back then. And even, you know, now there's a misnomer that says that black people were 3/5 of a person. No, black people weren't 3/5 of a person. But what it was that like 1,000 black folks would make like 10 people.
90 seconds.
1,000 black folks would be equivalent to like 10 people. That's how it was. So black folks back then weren't even counted individually. They were counted in bunches. So 100 black folks would represent 10 human beings. So those 100, you needed 100 black folks to make 10 human beings. That's how it was. So the United States of America was not designed for black folks. It was designed for white folks. And that's been evident for the last 400 years since this country was founded.
60 seconds.
So that's the problem. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Brother Warren for calling in from New Orleans, Louisiana. And we will get back with you again next week for another outstanding edition of the Ron Kelly Show. So and also again, go to the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel and subscribe to the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. You'll be so glad you did. All right, I'm going to break out here, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. Everybody stay safe. Wear your mask. And keep using your hand sanitizer until they come up with a cure. And what I like to say, it's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice. And that we may not have it all together, but together we can surely have it all. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, watching, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. And we'll see you back here next Thursday night for another edition of The Ron Kelly Show. Until then, I think I'm done.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Ooh, it's still light outside.